Let's shift gears away from your company and talking more broadly about all things AI.
Yeah,
What's the most fun part of building what you're building or doing what you're doing?
yeah. I would say the most fun thing in building this is like working with my co-founder. He's one of my best friends, so it's really easy to get things done. And startups are hard, and you have to have hard conversations. And so, being able to do those with complete honesty has been really nice with my co-founder. Um, I think the second thing, sort of what's another really fun part of doing this is, so there's this quote by Arthur C. Clarke that says, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And I really like that quote because it really does feel like that when you start wiring all these components of your product together and things just kind of work. You test all these things individually and it comes together and you can really see the value that it creates. And I think that's incredible.
Love it. Whose job in your problem space does generative AI software replace? And what should these employees do next using their domain knowledge?
Hmm. This is a tough one. I don't like to think of it as job replacement. I think that the job market is constantly evolving, but I think because we're doing a lot of basically QA testing and UI automation, it's probably QA testers, but I like to think of it more as like an aid for these QA testers.
At the same time, that's probably what every generative AI founder says nowadays. So
Yeah,
that a bit.
yeah. I think like realistically, there are some jobs at risk here. As these models just get better and better out of the box, we're seeing evolutions of these models. Probably we're going to see one every couple of years that's just 10 to 100x better than the previous one. And so just naturally, I think the level of abstraction at which we operate is going to be a lot higher in the next few years. And so I think that's really important to take into account as the job market evolves.
So you're saying this level of abstraction that occurs with this new technology will create more jobs of another sort.
Yeah, absolutely. And the market will shift. And so it's one of those things where like, QA testing, for example, that didn't exist before the internet. And the internet has only been around for a couple of decades. And so the internet has already created the concept of software engineering didn't exist before the internet and computers. And so these jobs are constantly evolving. And I think that's just the nature of evolving tech.
In the category of innovation, I used to be an aerospace engineer, and that job didn't exist before the Wright brothers first flew. So
Yeah, exactly.
what's the most creative use of LLMs you've seen? Something you never thought would be disrupted by AI, and it is.
Yeah. So I'm not sure this is something that I never thought would be disrupted by AI, but I'm very surprised that it's, evolving as fast as it is. And it's sort of like LLMs integrated with other forms of inputs. And so I was just, scrolling through Twitter the other day, and I saw this project that someone was working on where you basically speak and it translates your speech into text, passes it through an LLM, and is basically always listening. But if you ask it a question about your code base, or you ask it to perform a really simple task, like, create this new project folder and add these certain files or initiate it as like a certain project, it's able to just do those things. And this goes back to what I was talking about before, which is like, this feels a lot like Jarvis from Iron Man. Like, Tony Stark is sitting there saying, hey, I need you to do this, do this, do this, do this. And he's just talking to Jarvis, and all these things are getting done. And he can focus on the high level of what needs to get done. And I think that's really cool. My co-founder also really believes this, to the point that he named our backend Jarvis. And that's just how, yeah, so it's called Jarvis, our code repo.
Very fun.
Yeah.
Should,
Disney, come sue us, please. It's only internal, I promise.
let's keep going. Should LLM-based models be closed or open?
I don't know if I have a strong opinion on if they should or shouldn't be closed or open. But I think that the market force is shifting them towards being open. I think the best evidence for that I've seen right now is Llama 2 from released by Meta, and it's open source for everyone, and it's extremely performant, given that it's open source. Except the caveat with that one is that they're only open source for companies under 700 million users, monthly active users. And so realistically, there's like 2 or 3 companies that are excluded on this and need a license, like Apple, for example. Like they just excluded their competitors, but I thought that was pretty funny.
Let's double click into this one a little bit. I'm speculating here. Do you think Meta open sourced it because that was the only way they could react to Google and OpenAI?
You know, I think they did this probably for a couple of reasons. One, I think, yeah, it's one of those things where a lot of the open source models are already going to be extremely performant, and so they probably wanted to be the industry standard. And they probably did it for like similar reasons that they've open sourced things like the React framework. And I think they just have that division that believes in open source. And so just like any other big company that open sources their stuff, that's what they're doing. And I think it's one of those things where, yes, it does undermine their competitors.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Do you feel the Gen AI space is getting crowded?
Yeah, I think so. But at the same time, I think the market is expanding in ways we didn't anticipate. So kind of like what I was mentioning earlier, you know, adding that layer of text to speech or speech to text, and then, you know, getting that interpreted by LLMs is really interesting because it's just another form of input. Another one is brain computer interfaces. I think there's going to be, you know, I think that's a little bit away, but I think at the point at which we can interact with LLMs at the speed of thought, the sort of applications that open up are crazy.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What are your impressions on GPT-4, Bard, Anthropic's Claude? Is there any clear winner?
Right now, and I think a lot of people believe this, GPT-4 is the clear winner for the moment. And this everyone knows, but I think that this is going to change pretty dramatically over the next, not even few years, but probably few months or few weeks, because things are moving so fast in this space. And, you know, they have these like layers of abstraction now where like you have all these models, and now you can just kind of build your model based on any base model that exists. And so you're already seeing these platforms that kind of use all the different models, which is pretty cool.
Love it.